When we come to this question, what are you living for? It demands more than a casual answer. It requires us to pause and reflect deeply on the very essence of our existence. You see, life is not just a series of moments we pass through. Life is meant to be lived with intention, with a clear purpose that fuels every heartbeat and every step. Many people today live without asking themselves this critical question. They wake up each day, go through the motions, chasing whatever seems urgent or appealing at the moment. But living without a clear purpose is like setting sail without a compass. You may move, you may even move fast, but you won't reach the destination you were meant to. Purpose is the foundation upon which every meaningful life is built. It is the compass that guides us through the complexities and challenges of existence. When we understand why we live, it shapes not only our decisions, but also our attitudes, our goals, and how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. Without purpose, life becomes a series of random events. With purpose, it becomes a meaningful journey toward a clear destination. The question, "What are you living for?" is not just philosophical, it's practical. It touches every area of life, from the choices you make each morning to the legacy you leave behind. Having a defined purpose means having a clear sense of direction. It is like having a map in the wilderness or a lighthouse in a storm. It prevents you from drifting aimlessly, caught in the tides of societal pressures, distractions, or fleeting desires. When you know your purpose, you know where you are headed, and the path becomes easier to navigate. Decisions that once seemed confusing or overwhelming become clearer because they align with your overarching goals and values. Purpose fuels motivation. When you wake up in the morning, it is the sense of purpose that propels you forward. It helps you endure hardships and keeps your spirit resilient in the face of setbacks. Without purpose, discouragement and fatigue can easily take over because there is no compelling reason to keep going. Purpose gives meaning to suffering and struggle. It transforms trials from meaningless pain into valuable growth experiences. It turns sacrifice into investment and hard work into a worthwhile pursuit. Furthermore, purpose provides coherence to your life story. Life is not merely a collection of isolated moments. It is a narrative with a beginning, middle, and end. Purpose ties these moments together into a meaningful story that reflects who you are and what you stand for. It allows you to look back with satisfaction and forward with hope. Without it, life may feel fragmented, confusing, or hollow. Purpose also serves as a filter for priorities. When your purpose is clear, you know what deserves your time and energy and what does not. It helps you avoid distractions and temptations that might derail you from what truly matters. It encourages discipline and focus, allowing you to invest in the things that will bear lasting fruit. This does not mean you reject joy or rest, but rather that you understand their place within a larger framework. In addition, purpose connects us to something greater than ourselves. It is not just about personal fulfillment or success. It's about contributing to a larger story or mission. When you live with purpose, you recognize that your life has an impact beyond your own needs and desires. You become aware of your responsibility to your family, community, and even the world. This broader perspective enriches your life and infuses it with significance. Understanding your purpose often requires deep reflection and honest self-examination. It involves asking hard questions about your values, your passions, your talents, and your beliefs. It requires peeling back layers of societal expectations or personal insecurities to discover the core of who you truly are. It also involves listening for a calling or direction that transcends immediate circumstances, a higher purpose that brings true fulfillment. Living with purpose is not always easy. It may demand sacrifices, changes, or stepping into the unknown. It might challenge you to break free from comfort zones or toxic patterns, but the rewards far outweigh the difficulties. A life without purpose is vulnerable to emptiness and despair, while a life with purpose experiences joy, peace, and a sense of accomplishment. The reality is that everyone is living for something, whether consciously or unconsciously. If you have not yet chosen a purpose, you are likely living by default, reacting to life's circumstances or other people's agendas. But you have the power to choose differently. You can take control of your life's direction by identifying and embracing a purpose that resonates with your deepest convictions and aspirations. Ultimately, purpose is the anchor that holds you steady when storms come. It is the flame that keeps your heart burning when the world around you grows cold or dark. It is the light that illuminates your path and the reason that gives your life enduring meaning. The question, what are you living for, is not merely about finding any purpose. It's about discovering the right purpose, the one that aligns with your true identity and calling. When purpose governs your life, you begin to live intentionally rather than accidentally. Your actions become deliberate steps toward a meaningful goal. Your relationships grow deeper because they are grounded in shared values and vision. Your setbacks become opportunities for growth, and your successes become celebrations of a journey well lived. In this way, purpose transforms ordinary existence into an extraordinary adventure. It is the key that unlocks your potential and enables you to leave a lasting impact on the world around you. Without purpose, life is like a ship without a rudder, tossed by waves and winds. But with purpose, you sail confidently toward the horizon you were meant to reach. Living without purpose often leads to a profound sense of emptiness that gnaws at the soul. This emptiness is not just a fleeting feeling of boredom or dissatisfaction. It is a deep spiritual void that no amount of pleasure or achievement can fill. When people wander through life without knowing what they are living for, they often find themselves trapped in cycles of frustration, confusion, and hopelessness. Life begins to feel like a meaningless routine, where days blend into each other without significance or direction. The experience of emptiness is common in a world that constantly offers distractions but rarely provides lasting fulfillment. People try to fill this void with material possessions, social status, entertainment, or even achievements, hoping these things will satisfy their inner hunger. But these substitutes are like trying to quench thirst with salt water. They only intensify the longing. The more one chases after temporary fixes, the more glaring the emptiness becomes. This emptiness can manifest in various ways: a persistent feeling of dissatisfaction, anxiety about the future, a lack of motivation, or even depression. Many who struggle with this find themselves asking, "Is this all there is?" Or "Why am I here?" These questions are not signs of weakness. They are indicators of a soul searching for meaning. The heart was made for significance, and when that is missing, emptiness takes root. Living without purpose can also lead to a loss of identity. When you don't know what you are living for, you can easily be swayed by the opinions and expectations of others. You become reactive rather than proactive, allowing external circumstances to dictate your mood, choices, and sense of worth. This lack of a firm foundation makes it difficult to develop a strong, confident identity. People may feel lost, confused about their place in the world, and unsure about what they stand for. The Bible addresses this reality by reminding us that life without God and His purpose is vanity. It compares chasing after worldly things without true purpose to chasing after the wind, an endless effort that yields no lasting gain. This emptiness is a sign that something vital is missing, a signal pointing us toward the need for a deeper connection with the Creator and a clearer understanding of our God-given purpose. In contrast, when a person embraces a purposeful life, the emptiness is replaced with fulfillment and peace. Purpose acts as a remedy for the soul's hunger. It provides a reason to get up in the morning and face the day with hope and determination. The struggles and hardships of life no longer feel pointless, but take on new meaning because they are experienced within the framework of a larger plan. The emptiness experienced without purpose can also impact relationships. When people don't have a clear purpose, their interactions can become shallow or self-centered. They may seek validation from others in unhealthy ways or fail to invest deeply in meaningful connections. However, a life lived with purpose naturally fosters love, service, and community. It encourages people to look beyond themselves and build relationships rooted in genuine care and shared values. It is important to recognize that discovering purpose is not always immediate or easy. Sometimes the journey out of emptiness involves pain, self-reflection, and a willingness to ask hard questions. It may require stepping away from distractions and noise to listen to the deeper whispers of the heart. Many find that purpose emerges over time as they align their talents, passions, and faith with a clear vision for their lives. Living with purpose also guards against the temptation to settle for less or to live superficially. It calls for intentionality and courage, inviting people to pursue what truly matters even when it is difficult. This pursuit may involve sacrifice, change, or letting go of comfortable but unfulfilling habits or relationships. The emptiness without purpose is a powerful reminder that life is meant to be more than just existing or surviving. It is meant to be lived fully with passion and direction. When that emptiness is acknowledged and addressed, it opens the door to transformation and growth. Purpose brings clarity where there was confusion, strength where there was weakness, and hope where there was despair. In essence, the absence of purpose is one of the greatest challenges we face as human beings because it touches the core of our being. It calls us to examine our lives honestly and to seek out the deeper reason for our existence. This quest for meaning is universal and timeless, spanning cultures and generations. It reminds us that we are more than physical beings. We are spiritual beings created for significance. Choosing to live with purpose is a choice to refuse the emptiness and confusion that so easily engulf us. It is a decision to seek something lasting and meaningful. When that choice is made, life begins to change in profound ways. What once seemed like a random or empty existence becomes a journey filled with intention, hope, and joy. The soul finds its rest not in temporary things, but in the eternal purpose that calls us forward. Purpose is deeply rooted in the values that shape who we are and how we view the world. Values serve as the internal compass that guides our decisions, behaviors, and ultimately, the purpose we embrace in life. Without a foundation of clear values, purpose can become unstable, shifting with circumstances or external influences. When purpose is anchored in firmly held values, it gains strength and consistency that sustains us through life's challenges and complexities. Our values are more than just preferences or opinions. They are the deeply held convictions about what is right, important, and meaningful. They reflect what we believe about life, people, and our responsibilities. These values influence every choice we make, often operating beneath our conscious awareness, yet profoundly impacting the direction of our lives. For example, if honesty is a core value, then living with integrity will naturally become part of one's purpose. If compassion is a guiding value, then serving others will shape how that person defines their life's meaning. The connection between values and purpose is vital because purpose without values can become hollow or misguided. When a person pursues a purpose that conflicts with their values, internal conflict and dissatisfaction are inevitable. Imagine someone chasing success at the expense of honesty or kindness. The resulting tension can lead to burnout, regret, or a sense of emptiness. In contrast, when purpose flows from values, it creates harmony and a sense of alignment that nurtures fulfillment and peace. Values are often shaped by our upbringing, culture, spiritual beliefs, and personal experiences. They are the lens through which we interpret life's events and make sense of our existence. Understanding and clarifying our values is a crucial step toward discovering our true purpose. This process requires honest reflection and sometimes the courage to question inherited or assumed values to find those that resonate most deeply with who we are called to be. When we identify and live according to our core values, our purpose becomes clear and compelling. This clarity provides motivation and direction, making it easier to set goals, prioritize actions, and make sacrifices when necessary. Purpose rooted in values acts as a stabilizing force, helping us navigate uncertainties and distractions that might otherwise derail us. It keeps us grounded in what truly matters, even when external circumstances change. Moreover, values give our purpose a moral and ethical dimension. They shape not only what we aim to achieve, but how we pursue it. A purpose grounded in values ensures that our actions are not just effective, but also honorable and respectful of others. This aspect of purpose is especially important in a world where shortcuts and compromises are often tempting. Values hold us accountable to a higher standard, encouraging us to live with integrity and authenticity. In addition, values inspire commitment and resilience. When we face setbacks or opposition, it is our values that remind us why we started and why we must continue. Purpose that is disconnected from values may falter in adversity, but when purpose is an expression of deeply held beliefs, it fuels perseverance. This endurance is essential for long-term success and the realization of meaningful goals. Living with purpose rooted in values also influences how we relate to others. It fosters empathy, respect, and cooperation because values often encompass how we believe people should be treated. Purpose becomes not just about personal achievement, but about contributing positively to the lives of those around us. This relational aspect enriches our sense of purpose, making it more expansive and impactful. For those who hold religious or spiritual beliefs, values often derive from divine principles or teachings. This connection adds a transcendent dimension to purpose, situating it within a broader cosmic or spiritual framework. Such a perspective provides additional depth and motivation, as purpose is seen as fulfilling a higher calling beyond personal or immediate concerns. Discovering purpose through values is an ongoing journey rather than a one-time event. As we grow and experience life, our understanding of our values may deepen or evolve, leading to new insights about our purpose. This dynamic process invites continual reflection and adjustment, ensuring that our purpose remains relevant and true to who we are becoming. In sum, the root of purpose in values cannot be overstated. Values form the soil in which purpose grows, providing nourishment, stability, and direction. Without this foundation, purpose risks becoming superficial or fleeting. But when purpose is firmly grounded in what we truly believe and hold dear, it transforms our lives, guiding us toward fulfillment, meaning, and impact. Living for temporary things is one of the most common traps that people fall into, yet it is also one of the most deeply unsatisfying ways to live. In a world that constantly promotes material success, instant gratification, and fleeting pleasures, it is easy to get caught up in the pursuit of things that offer only momentary happiness but fail to satisfy the soul. The problem with living for temporary things is that they are, by nature, limited and impermanent. They cannot provide the lasting fulfillment that every human heart longs for, no matter how much we try to convince ourselves otherwise. Temporary things come in many forms: money, possessions, status, physical beauty, entertainment, or even relationships that lack depth. These things can feel good in the moment. They can bring excitement, comfort, or social approval, but their ability to fulfill is only skin deep. When the initial thrill wears off, what remains is often a sense of emptiness or disappointment. This cycle can become exhausting as people continually seek the next new thing to fill the void, only to find that nothing truly satisfies. One reason temporary things fail to satisfy is because they are external. They rely on circumstances outside of ourselves, things that can be lost, taken away, or fade over time. For example, wealth can disappear through bad investments. Possessions can be stolen or broken, and physical attractiveness inevitably changes with age. Because these things are unstable and subject to change, they cannot provide a solid foundation for lasting happiness or identity. Moreover, when people invest their lives primarily in temporary things, they often neglect the deeper needs of their spirit and character. True fulfillment comes from cultivating inner qualities like love, purpose, faith, and wisdom, things that do not fade and cannot be taken away. Living solely for external rewards can lead to a shallow existence, where the inner self is starving even while outwardly things seem abundant. This disconnect can cause feelings of loneliness, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. The Bible addresses this reality by warning against storing up treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and thieves break in and steal. This imagery highlights the futility of placing our hope in things that are perishable and transient. Instead, we are encouraged to seek treasures in heaven, things that have eternal value and cannot be destroyed. This spiritual perspective invites a shift in focus from temporary pleasures to lasting significance. Temporary things also have a way of enslaving those who pursue them. The desire for more wealth, recognition, or pleasure can become a consuming force that controls decisions and behavior. People may compromise their values, sacrifice relationships, or neglect important responsibilities in the relentless pursuit of what is temporary. This addiction to temporary satisfaction can trap people in cycles of dissatisfaction, stress, and regret. In contrast, when a person begins to live for things that have eternal significance, a new kind of freedom emerges. This freedom comes from recognizing that true worth and fulfillment are found not in what can be lost, but in what endures beyond this life. Living for eternal things brings a perspective that values character over appearance, relationships over possessions, and purpose over pleasure. Living for temporary things often leads to a restless heart because the soul was made for more than passing pleasures. Humans were created with an eternal dimension, a capacity for deep joy and connection that goes beyond the material world. When this dimension is ignored or suppressed, the soul aches for fulfillment that temporary things cannot provide. This spiritual longing is a signpost pointing toward a higher purpose and a deeper source of satisfaction. Many people experience moments of clarity where they realize that the temporary things they have chased have left them feeling empty. These moments can be painful but also transformative. They open the door for reflection and a reconsideration of what truly matters. The journey from living for temporary things to embracing a more meaningful life is often marked by a willingness to let go of superficial pursuits and invest in what has lasting value. Choosing to live beyond the temporary requires courage and intentionality. It means resisting societal pressures that equate success with material wealth or popularity. It involves cultivating virtues such as patience, generosity, and humility, qualities that build a life of depth and meaning. This shift also requires embracing a vision of life that transcends the here and now, looking toward a future that holds eternal significance. In practical terms, living beyond the temporary might look like prioritizing relationships over work, giving generously instead of hoarding resources, or dedicating time to personal growth and service rather than constant entertainment. It means asking deeper questions about what we want our lives to stand for and how we want to be remembered. Ultimately, living for temporary things is a path that leads to disappointment because it denies the soul's deepest needs. But when we choose to live for what endures, love, faith, purpose, and connection, we open ourselves to a richer, fuller life that satisfies not just for a moment, but for eternity. Living for others is one of the most profound ways we reflect the nature of God's love. The Bible teaches us that God is love, and His love is not self-centered or self-serving. It is outward, focused, sacrificial, and generous. When we choose to live for others, we mirror that divine love, embodying the very character of God in our daily lives. This kind of living goes beyond simply thinking about ourselves or seeking personal gain. It calls us to a higher standard, a life marked by compassion, service, and selflessness. To live for others means to recognize that our lives are not solely our own. We are part of a larger community, a body where each member matters. This perspective changes everything. It shifts our focus from individualism to interdependence. We begin to see that our actions impact not just ourselves, but those around us. When we serve others, we contribute to their well-being and, in doing so, experience a deeper sense of fulfillment ourselves. This is the paradox of self. Giving love, it enriches both the giver and the receiver. God's love is unconditional and sacrificial. It reached its fullest expression in Jesus Christ, who laid down his life for humanity. When we live for others, we participate in this divine act of love. It may not require the ultimate sacrifice of life, but it does call for daily acts of kindness, patience, forgiveness, and generosity. These acts demonstrate that we value others not for what they can do for us, but simply because they are made in God's image and worthy of love. Living for others also requires humility. It means putting aside pride, selfish ambitions, and the desire to be first. It is about lifting others up and sometimes taking a backseat in our own lives to meet the needs of those around us. This humility is countercultural in a world that prizes individual achievement and recognition, yet it is central to the Christian life. Jesus taught that the greatest among us are those who serve others, and he modeled this by washing his disciples' feet, a task reserved for the lowliest servant. When we live for others, we build communities rooted in love and trust. These communities reflect God's kingdom on earth, where people care for one another and seek the good of all. Living for others fosters empathy, compassion, and reconciliation, breaking down walls of division and creating bonds of unity. It is a powerful witness to the world of what God's love looks like in action. Moreover, living for others transforms our understanding of success and significance. Instead of measuring life by personal gain or status, we begin to measure it by the impact we have on others' lives. True success becomes about how we love and serve, how we make a difference in the world. This shift in perspective brings deeper satisfaction because it aligns with the heart of God's purpose for humanity. Living for others also teaches us patience and perseverance. People are imperfect, and serving them often requires grace and forgiveness. There will be times when our efforts seem unappreciated or when relationships are difficult. Yet living out God's love means continuing to love despite challenges. This kind of love is steadfast and enduring, reflecting God's faithfulness to us. In practical terms, living for others can take many forms. It might be caring for a family member, volunteering in the community, mentoring someone in need, or simply being present to listen and encourage a friend. These acts may seem small, but they carry great weight in the kingdom of God. Each gesture of love is a thread in the fabric of God's kingdom, weaving a tapestry of grace and hope. Choosing to live for others also invites us to look beyond ourselves and our immediate circles. It calls us to engage with the broader needs of society and the world. This might include advocating for justice, supporting missions, or participating in efforts to alleviate poverty and suffering. Living for others compels us to be agents of change, reflecting God's love on a global scale. Ultimately, living for others reflects God's love because it is an expression of who God is and what He has called us to be. It is not a burdensome duty, but a joyful privilege. When we live for others, we participate in the divine dance of love, becoming channels through which God's grace flows into the world. This way of living transforms our hearts and the lives of those we touch, drawing us closer to God and to each other. To truly fulfill the purpose of our lives, we must align ourselves with God's will. This alignment is not a casual or occasional decision, but a daily commitment to live according to the principles and plans God has established for us. When we seek to live apart from God's will, no matter how ambitious or well intentioned our goals may be, we often find ourselves frustrated, lost, or unfulfilled. Purpose without alignment to God's will is like a ship sailing without a rudder. There may be motion, but no meaningful direction or destination. God's will represents the perfect and divine plan for humanity. It reflects His wisdom, love, and justice, designed to bring about the greatest good not only for ourselves, but for others as well. When we align with God's will, we position ourselves to participate in His grand design, a design far greater than any individual ambition or earthly success. This alignment brings peace because it places us under the care and guidance of a loving Creator who knows what is best for our lives. One of the clearest ways to discern God's will is through His Word. Scripture reveals God's character and His desires for how we live. It provides guidance on moral decisions, priorities, and the attitudes that reflect a life pleasing to God. By immersing ourselves in the Bible, praying for understanding, and seeking counsel from wise believers, we grow more attuned to the path God has set for us. This process requires humility and openness, as God's will often calls us to places or actions we might not initially expect or desire. Aligning with God's will also means surrendering our own plans and ambitions when they conflict with His. This surrender is not a loss but a gain, a release of control that invites God to take the lead. Many people struggle with this because it requires trust and faith in God's timing and methods. We may have our own ideas of what success looks like, but God's perspective is eternal and perfect. When we yield to His will, we allow Him to refine our purpose, shaping it into something that will endure beyond temporary achievements. Purpose aligned with God's will carries an eternal significance. While worldly purposes can fade or fail, God's purposes are steadfast and effective. They serve not only our immediate needs, but also contribute to the advancement of His kingdom on earth. This gives a sense of meaning that transcends daily struggles and challenges, encouraging perseverance even in difficult circumstances. Knowing that our lives are part of a divine purpose instills hope and courage. Another important aspect of aligning with God's will is recognizing that His purposes often involve serving others. God's will is inherently relational. It calls us to love, to forgive, to give, and to build community. Purpose lived out in alignment with God's will is never selfish or isolated. It reaches beyond individual ambition to impact families, communities, and even nations. This outward focus enriches our lives and magnifies our influence. Living in God's will also protects us from the pitfalls of pride and self-reliance. When we attempt to fulfill our purpose by our own strength or wisdom, we risk making choices that lead to harm or failure. But when we seek God's guidance, we acknowledge our dependence on Him. This reliance fosters a humble spirit that is teachable and receptive to correction. It opens the door for God's power to work through us, accomplishing what we could never achieve alone. The process of aligning with God's will is ongoing. It requires constant prayer, reflection, and adjustment. Life circumstances change, and with them, our understanding of God's direction may deepen or shift. This dynamic relationship calls for attentiveness to the Holy Spirit, who guides and empowers us daily. It also calls for patience, as God's timing may differ from our own. Trusting in His faithfulness, we continue to pursue His will, confident that He is at work even when we cannot see the full picture. Sometimes aligning with God's will means stepping into uncomfortable or challenging situations. It may require sacrifice, endurance, and courage. But these trials are opportunities for growth and refinement. They produce character and deepen our faith. Purpose fulfilled in God's will is not necessarily easy, but it is always meaningful and fruitful. Ultimately, the greatest fulfillment comes from knowing that our lives are woven into the divine tapestry God is creating. Each act of obedience, each moment of trust, contributes to a story far greater than ourselves. Alignment with God's will transforms our purpose from a mere goal into a living testimony of faith. It reveals the heart of God through our actions and gives eternal significance to our earthly journey. Life's deepest fulfillment and meaning are found when we move beyond merely existing or chasing temporary pleasures and instead live with a clear, God-centered purpose. Purpose is the anchor that gives direction, fuels resilience, and shapes every choice we make. Without it, emptiness and confusion take root, but with it, our lives gain coherence and hope. This purpose is not something we create on our own. It is discovered and fulfilled by aligning our values, passions, and actions with God's will. When we live for others, reflecting God's unconditional love and humility, our lives echo with eternal significance, impacting those around us and contributing to a greater divine plan. Choosing to live intentionally in this way transforms ordinary days into a meaningful journey, empowering us to face challenges with courage and leaving a legacy that transcends time. Ultimately, the question, "What are you living for?" calls each of us to seek a purpose far beyond ourselves, a purpose rooted in love, service, and faith that leads to a life well lived and a soul deeply satisfied.